If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben, this is Syya, and I got a question for you. Do you know how to tell your story? We all talk about the fact, you need to tell your story. What's your story? What is the story of the brand? What's the story of the corporation? But do you really know how to tell that story? Do you really know how to actually nuts and bolts create a story that people are actually going to listen to? They're going to understand. They want to engage with, they're going to internalize, they can recall, and they can retell it. Because that's the magical sauce. It's not the fact that you can tell your story. It's the fact that others can tell your story for you. And they're never going to tell you it exactly the same way you do. That's all right. They're never going to use the same nuance. They're going to use different analogies. They may have some different points of view. They may even change a few facts every once in a while. Hopefully they don't, but maybe they will. But you know what? We need to sit there and say, how do we get other people to tell our story for us? Because that's where the magic happens. We can spend millions and millions of dollars in paid for ads, or we can invest to create a really great story that other people respond to, that they appreciate. They think it's incredible. As long as it's authentic, and as long as it's memorable, they will respond to it, they will recall it, and they will retell it. And I think that that's what we got to do. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Oh, shall we gnaw on this? Just the idea of
I think we shall.
Just the fact that we titled this Gnaw on This, as opposed to let's talk about one topic. Like when you can use words to evoke a vision in your mind's eye or an emotion that will trigger a fond memory or help you reminisce or recall something, that's storytelling. Because there's talking a story, talking a summary, right? Sharing a summary of an experience versus the story. What is it? And was it English 101 where they told us, look, you got to have like an opening hook, right? And then you build and crescendo into the complex story, and then you come down. And it's not just permanent, it's up and down throughout however long whatever it is that you're writing.
Well, it's like a wave curve. It doesn't just go up and go down once. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down because there's trials and tribulations.
Yes.
The story is not, I started the company, we made $1 million, the end. The story is, you know what? We had an idea. Yeah. We had an idea. There's three of us. We were sitting around a bar one night. We were throwing darts, and we looked at each other and said, hey, wait a second here. This doesn't make sense. Whatever this is, there's got to be a better way. There's always we've got to have a better way. And then people sat down and had a few more drinks and maybe some chicken wings and some nachos that went with it. And then a few more drinks. And the next morning, everybody woke up. They got got rid of the hangover. And then they actually got to work. And we need to sit there and realize that our story is those little things that go along the way. It's not just the facts. It's the emotion attached to it. You said you have to create an emotion attachment, but it's not an emotion attachment for you. It's important that you're emotionally attached to your story. It's way more important that the people you're telling the story to find a way that they become emotionally attached to that story. You paint a picture in their mind, not yours. You create emotional hooks for them, not you. And that's where we need to be going.
Strumming is... Wait, shoot. What was it?
I don't know. I'm going to listen, children, to a story that had happened long ago about a people on a mountain and a valley far below. Look it up, everybody. See if you can find the name of that title of that song.
I'm rubbing off on you. Oh my God, I'm rubbing off on you. Now, I was going to say, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song. Is it strumming my life with his pictures?
We're going to have to look it up
Singing my
because I
life
can't.
with his words?
I'm 55, 54 years old. I mess up the lyrics to every song out there. I always thought I knew the words to Elton John's, Tiny Dancer. I don't.
Oh, no. There's actually a whole TikTok thing about Gen Xers remembering lyrics completely wrong because we didn't have the internet. So we just listened to the radio and we're like, okay, that's what we think it is. But okay, no, but that's a whole thing.
That's part of storytelling.
Exactly. But that's
the beautiful thing about storytelling is that we make it our own.
100.
And we enable people to make it their own, and we enable people to have that feeling of, I've got to tell this to somebody else.
Yes. It is, music is like the one thing that I keep saying over and over again is it's the same song, right? But yet everyone's going to have a different fond memory of it because it's your own personal experience with it, right? And how that song fits. A song that might be like make someone happy. Like, okay, perfect example. I almost died. Like, well, many times, but let's just be honest. There's one time in my life that I truly almost died. And it was on our way to go to Six Flags Valencia in California. We're on I-5. And or in California terms, the 5. We're going northbound on the 5. Yes. And we knew we're overloaded. 1980s Toyota Tercel. We know that already. You're driving an aluminum can. But there was 6 of us in that car. Ain't no one should be sitting that many people in that car. It maxes out at 5, but we were skinny little kids at that point. So they shoved 4 kids in the back seat, my sister and her boyfriend in the front seat. Well, I'm on the back rear passenger side, right over the wheel, and I'm happy to look out the window, and I see a truck driver frantically pointing at me, and I'm going, what's wrong with this man? Wow. And then all of a sudden, right when that happens, the wheels, I just went and saw sky. And then it slammed down. And then when it slammed down, we spun out. And all I could see was all these cars just going right around us. And I mean, it was the most surreal, slow-mo, but yet not feeling ever. I'm like holding down like this, trying to like not like, oh, hi, not want to hit anything. And then we stopped perpendicular. And we were just, the I-5, you guys, is a fracking vein. As you're getting to that
what is
area.
it like? Eight lanes on both sides, so it's
more
like,
or less.
It's like it's 16 lanes across.
it's basically the highway to go to Northern California, so it's like the last city hurrah. Anyway, we stopped perpendicular. I just remember I'm facing the freaking cars come at us. I'm like, oh wow, this is how I go. This is what I was like 11 years old at the time. I'm like, well, that was a good life. We pull over. Shockingly, all these cars avoided us. And we just all piled out like little clown car. And we just sat back. We just sat back in the thing and just sat there for a minute. And I was like, what the heck just happened? Most bizarre thing ever. But you want to know what song was playing? Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. So now every time I hear that stupid ass song, I have like massive like moment of like, I'm okay with dying. It was really for me, very surreal. Very surreal. So that was my convoluted
I got
story.
2 things out of that. I got 2 huge things out of that. One, as you're doing it, I'm there with you. I'm here. I'm visually seeing you spin. I'm visually seeing your heart coming out of your chest, grabbing that door, spinning around. And now I can tell that story to somebody else because you've made it real for me. Oh. Within that 30 to 90 seconds that you were saying that, I totally get where you were. I've been on the I-5. I know it's this monster highway. You can see cars hitting the brakes, the horns going everywhere. Chaos is around you. And, you come out of this going, we're still alive.
We shouldn't have been. Ben.
You shouldn't have been. You absolutely shouldn't have been. Knowing that people do, God knows people do 90 miles an hour plus on the I-5. There's no way you should have survived. But it's also the fact that you now have a piece of music that triggers that story. Because music, I can tell you when I listen to a Bob Seger song, or I listen to a Tina Turner song, or a Elton John song, they trigger memories that trigger stories.
Yes.
And I think that that's where we all need to get as storytellers, is to sit there and say, how do we plant this one deep into the minds, hearts, and souls of our audience, and realize this story is for this person. For instance, I tell a certain story on stage, and I've probably told this story 100 times. Okay, it's too long for me to tell it in the 5 or 10 minutes that we have left. But depending on who the audience is, I tell it differently. Sometimes I tell the short version. Sometimes I tell the long version. Sometimes I get all animated. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes my voice goes up. Sometimes my voice goes down. The message gets across. But because of the audience that's in front of me, I'm telling it in a way that they're going to listen to it, because I want them on the front of their seats as I'm telling that story. Yeah. And I want them, as they're walking out of the room, to talk to their friends and say, remember that story? Oh my God. And that's what it's all about. It's not about you as a storyteller. Your job as a storyteller is to create emotional hooks, to sit there and say, they are people like this, do things like that, is the Seth Godin. If you don't know Seth Godin, the man is the God. He is the marketing God.
Yeah.
He says people like do things like that, and realizing what are the things that these people do? How do they believe? What do they think? What are their triggers? And we need to create emotional triggers that trigger them, because they're the ones in front of us. They're the ones in the audience. And maybe it's putting it to music. Maybe it's visuals. Maybe it's getting them to be part of the story and bringing them into the story while you're telling it. Sometimes it's being more animated. Sometimes it's not. But we need to sit there and say, what is it going to take to be able to understand the psyche of the people in front of us and tell that story in a way that they're going to get excited about?
You totally triggered me on this. And this is, again, my 7 years, almost 7 years working at the Disney company.
Yeah.
Walk down Main Street and they did forced perspective to make it look like you're going into a magical kingdom. They pump out smells so you can smell the bakery, the fudge, getting made, all that sweet goodness, evoking that memories of home. It also reminds me of Ratatouille in the movie, where when the judge, I didn't watch the movie, but I saw that snippet on TikTok. You're welcome, YouTube Shorts. Thank you. I saw that scene where he takes a bite though, and it went immediately to his mom. When he wasn't like a hard food critic, he was just a child again. And all the warmth, that love, missing his mom. Literally, Disney could not do better than what they always do best, which is in that one little bit of image, you got and felt and you smelled and you tasted everything, all the senses in that scene. I mean, it was, that's storytelling. That's that narrative. It also reminds me of when you see, like in TV, where there's a fireside chat and someone starts a ghost story, but then it like does that little white fade, and then it goes into the story, and then you see the actors. Or Drunk History, for those that are more funny, adult-minded. Go to Drunk History. They got the narrator, but then it switches to the scene. Just another reminder, just because you're the storyteller, it isn't about you. It's not about you. You're setting the scene. You're setting the whole like theater of the mind. So that's my 2 cents on storytelling, because I can go on this forever.
Well, listen, I'll finish up here, but we could go on for this forever. Disney, if anybody from Disney is listening, when I retire, I want to be a tour guide. I want to spend my retirement years as a tour guide for Disney, because I think that would be the best job in my retirement, to sit there and take people, on stage, off stage, and be able to tell them the stories of Disney. And I think would be an incredible thing. Number 2 thing is, I just started watching again Once Upon a Time. And if you ever want to sit there and learn how to tell stories effectively, that's an incredible way to tell your story. If that, same on the Disney theme, if people sit there and say, you want to know how to tell a story, watch The Lion King.
Oh.
The Lion King is the perpetual way to sit there and know how to get a story told. And we need to sit there and realize that the story is about taking people on the journey. It's not about the finish line. It's not about the start. It's about the journey along the way. and grabbing people by the hand and saying, come with me. Let's do this together. We're going over there, but it's the journey along the way that's the most important thing. And I think that's how we become great storytellers.
Can I sing?
Go for it. Go sing.
Come with me and you'll see a world of true imagination. Okay, sorry.
God, I gotta love Charlie Bucket. You gotta love Charlie Bucket. You gotta sit there and say, I'm the original Willy Wonka fan. I'm not a big fan of the remake, but it is magic. That is another form of magic. Is that how do we sit there and build a world in somebody's mind?
Pure imagination.
There we go. So let's leave it there. Everybody, I want you to think about, how do I tell a story that is going to resonate with the people that not only I care about, but care about me. That's your homework. I'm Ben.
And I'm Syya.
We'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.